Getting some tape.
With our group as well, all
Testing, testing. You guys ready? Everybody good? All right.
Can you test that again?
Testing, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing.
children this morning, huh?
I had the children, yeah.
Why didn't you bring them with you?
They had a field trip.
Oh, they probably would have loved this.
They were there. Legislator?
Actually, I need that little piece
Where's
of
the
paper.
new commander? Is he here? Yeah.
Come on, legislator. Be shy. I know you're not shy.
Okay. Okay.
Should have made a special invitation.
Yes.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? We could not ask for a better day in the great city of Buffalo to be standing in front of one of the very iconic assets that we have in our community. I am Assemblywoman Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes. I am joined by my colleagues across government to announce that the state has saw within its ability to help fund and support this amazing ship to the tune of, there's nothing in my folder, but to the tune of $500,000. We know that Paul Mazzaro, the president and CEO, and his entire board and management team have been doing an amazing job of helping right this ship, maintain this ship, and put it back into the perspective where all of the citizens who live in and around Western New York, as well as those who visit us on a regular basis, can avail themselves of an opportunity that I think is amazing. So I'm excited to have this opportunity to do that, and I'm excited to have my colleagues joining me as we all support not just the Naval Park and everything that they have to offer here, but we definitely support this ship right here because just a few weeks ago it was leaning in the water. And it is now standing up, and it just shows you where we have to go yet to make it back to the beauty that it definitely deserves. So in that order, we have my colleague, Senator Kennedy, who's going to bring comments. We're going to hear from our great county executive, Mark Poloncarz. We're also going to hear from our great chairwoman of the legislature, April Baskin, followed by the mayor of the great city of Buffalo, Byron Brown. And lastly, we'll hear from the gentleman who makes this all happen on a regular basis, day-to-day basis, Paul Mazzaro, the president and CEO of the Naval and Military Park. My pleasure to start with my colleague, my brother, Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. First of all, let me start by thanking our incredible Majority Leader, Crystal Peoples-Stokes. I often have an opportunity to introduce her. Today I'm following her, but I want to say the same thing that I always say about her because it's fitting that nothing happens here in Buffalo from Albany without our great Majority Leader's fingerprints on it. She is an extraordinary leader in our community, and she takes that leadership to Albany, and she delivers for the people of Buffalo and Western New York. And this $500,000 commitment here today is indicative of the work that Majority Leader Peoples-Stokes has brought to Albany. So thank you so much, Majority Leader, for working to deliver this funding. It is great to be in Buffalo. It's great to be down at Canal Side and down at the Naval Park. And it's nice to be smiling about this investment, as it wasn't that long ago that the USS Sullivans' future was questioned, whether or not we would be able to raise it up out of the water. It's stern underwater, at listing to the starboard side, tens of thousands of gallons that had infiltrated its core. And really it was the heart and the fabric of Buffalo, but the heart and the fabric of America, and the forces that have served this great country so nobly that were at risk as this beautiful vessel was starting to take on water. And it was because of the leadership of Paul Marzullo and the folks here at the Erie County Naval and Military Park that they were able to salvage this incredible and beautiful piece of American history. And so I want to thank them for their leadership in making this a reality. Also my partners in government, from our county executive, Mark Poloncarz, to Mayor Byron Brown, to Chairwoman April Baskin, and everyone in between, our Congressman Brian Higgins, that stepped up and said, you know, we have to make sure that this piece of history is saved. and our community leaders that stepped up, and business leaders that stepped up, everyone recognizing that this important piece of history needed to be rallied around, and here we are today with this now buoyed out of the water and able for generations to enjoy. I just want to recognize again Majority Leader Peoples-Stokes for her leadership in delivering this $500,000 from New York State. I'm honored and proud to be a part of it today. And with that, I will introduce, on Flag Day, mind you, our great Erie County Executive, Mark Poloncarz.
Thank you, Senator. I guess it's a good thing I wore my American flag pin on Flag Day today. But it is a really great day to be here to and join Assemblywoman, our Majority Leader, Crystal Peoples-Stokes, for this very important $500,000, because the work is not done. As I'm sure you heard from Paul and others, there's still more work that needs to be done to ensure the long-term security of the Sullivans. We came together as a community approximately 7 weeks ago to help save the Sullivans, and there's more work that still needs to be done. Thankfully, it's floating and it's not listing anymore, but we know that there's work that's being done on the interior and a long-term plan that has to be established to ensure the future of the Sullivans as well as the Little Rock. That's why Erie County has been proud to contribute substantial amounts through the years, including most recently $300,000 to assist with the long-term planning for the Buffalo Naval and Military Park. And now we know how important it is because of what occurred here not that long ago. So to the Majority Leader, I just want to thank you on behalf of the people of Erie County for your investment of state dollars in this very, very important attraction that brings tourists from across the country to Buffalo to see these ships and to relive, in many of them, their lives from 30, 40, 50, even 60 years ago when they actually served our military, if not on these vessels, but similar vessels. So thank you to the Majority Leader for your investment. Thank you to the Senator. I know he's been a strong advocate to ensure these dollars come here. To the Mayor and his team, Mr. Polito, they were here every day to ensure that this ship did not go down. So thank you to the Mayor and the team from the Engineering Department for your tremendous work. Our Chairwoman, April Baskin, for her support of the funding of these projects through the county. I know she understands how important these are. And to Mr. Marzello and his team, who knew even before the listing of the ship that this work needed to be done, and it was started last year. Unfortunately, could not be finished because of course, the water temperature. But for 1 week, maybe they could have gotten in there if the water was a little warmer and prevented it from having the fate that it did. But the fate that it did was not the end fate because of the tremendous work of Paul, his team, and all their partners like Bidco and others. They were able to save the Sullivans. But as we know, there's more work that needs to be done. So Paul, thank you for your forethought with regards to what needs to be done, not only to ensure the viability of the Sullivans today, but of course for many, many years to come. As I said, I have a great partner in county government who's been very supportive of the Buffalo Military and Naval Park, and that is our great Chairwoman, April Baskin. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, County Executive, and thank you to my colleagues in government who have worked so expediently to make sure that our naval park survives and that the sacrifices that were made throughout American conflict, specifically with the USS Sullivans in World War II, is here for our children, our families, and our communities, and people from around the nation, like the County Executive said, to be able to learn about right here in the great city of Buffalo. I am proud to have been a supporter of the Naval Park through the county legislature. The Majority Caucus, in partnership with the County Executive, has always prioritized giving support to the Naval Park. annual allocation of $50,000 in our annual budget. As the county executive said, in the Renew Plan, $300,000. And just most recently, we opened up a $25 million program for arts and cultural organizations to be able to apply to get funding for projects like this. In Erie County. So the majority caucus of the legislature and Erie County is super, super proud to keep that alive. And now we stand here today with our great leader, our history-making majority leader, our glass ceiling breaking majority leader in the New York State Assembly, the Honorable Crystal Peoples-Stokes, who has identified in partnership with Senator Kennedy and DASNY $500,000 to contribute to the salvaging of this very, very important piece of history here in Western New York. And this is what local government should do. So take note, everyone throughout the state, every local government throughout the country. Arts and culturals keep communities thriving. And you need leaders like the one standing beside me today to prioritize that through our responsibility and our oversight of public dollars. So thank you to Paul for your leadership. I want to point out that when we had a conversation a year ago about you establishing a diversity and equity committee here at the Naval Park, that you jumped on that. And I really, really appreciate that, as that creates more opportunity and more equitable access for those who have served in the American services to be able to access the park and to be included. I think what we have here is something that's great, and it's beautiful to celebrate it on a sunny Flag Day. So without any further ado, I will turn it over to the great mayor of the great city of Neighbors, Mayor Byron Brown.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman April Baskin. It is a great day to be here with my colleagues in government and Paul Marzello, the President and CEO of the Buffalo and Erie County Naval and Military Park, Don Polito, Senior Engineer in the Department of Public Works, to say thank you to Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes for this allocation with her colleagues in the state government of $500,000 for the righting of USS The Sullivans. Yes, the ship was sinking. Yes, the ship was leaning, and it attracted national and international attention because of how significant USS The Sullivans is to American naval military history. So this is a big deal today, because while the mission has been accomplished to stop the ship from sinking, to stop the ship from leaning, we still have to pay the bill. And the bill is very, very significant for what was done to save USS The Sullivans, and as the county executive said, to make sure that the operation of the Naval Park has the resources that it needs to protect all of these historic military and naval assets that we have here in the city of Buffalo at the Naval Park. I want to thank Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes for stepping up at this time, because a lot of commitments have been made to provide funding. This is the first major commitment that is being delivered on, and hopefully all those who made commitments will deliver as well. As I conclude, I want to thank Paul Marzello and his team that worked on this every single day. I want to thank the Coast Guard, former commander here of the Buffalo sector, Lexia Littlejohn. I want to thank the County of Erie for its support. I want to thank the state DEC and other state agencies. Of course, I want to thank City of Buffalo agencies, the Department of Public Works, the Fire Department, the Police Department. Don Polito, our senior engineer for operations, was embedded here every single day working on the effort to save this ship. And lastly, and certainly not least, I want to recognize the efforts of Paul Marzello, the president and CEO of the Naval Park. He was here every day. He was here morning, noon, and night, and into the wee hours of the morning to save this ship. I know that sometimes the burden of leadership falls very heavily on the shoulders of the leader. But Paul, I want to thank you for being the leader of this effort, for shouldering that responsibility and making sure that we were able to save this important piece of naval history. So finally, as Senator Kennedy said, we are fortunate to have the majority leader of the state assembly right here in the city of Buffalo as one of our colleagues. She delivers every single day for this community, and this $500,000 for the USS The Sullivans is just another example of what our majority leader, Crystal People Stokes, is doing for this community every single day. Thank you all very much.
Thank you all for those awesome comments. I do want to just mention that I was actually in Albany working when pictures came across my news feed of the USS Sullivans listing floating in the water, and it just really broke my heart. The only thing that brought me any gratification was that I knew that Paul Marzello was here and that he is the president and CEO, and I knew he was going to figure out how to make it work. I actually already knew as well that my own chief of staff was a board member, so I knew I could get any information that I needed to have access, but I also was not able to be in a position to help deliver resources, because there's this funny thing that we have in Albany. You can't deliver resources to an agency or a not-for-profit if in fact you know somebody that's on the board, or you have a relationship with somebody that's on the board, or they're in your family, or they're on your staff. I think that's limited in thought, but you know, sometimes we have to make those weird decisions in Albany. So my chief of staff is no longer on the board, and now we're in a position to make this kind of contribution without being scrutinized by our Ways and Means team. So again, it's my honor and my pleasure to have had the capacity and the ability to deliver these resources to what I think is one of the most phenomenal military and naval parks in the world, under the leadership of this man, Paul Marzello.
All right, Paul.
Good morning, everyone. This is Flag Day, June 14th, 2022. And one of our tenets, as far as our mission, is to educate. We want to honor, educate, inspire, and preserve. Well, in preparation for Flag Day, we had a special event over the weekend. It's called I Pledge Challenge. And the I Pledge Challenge is set up for any youth who's 12 or younger. And he has to be able, or she has to be able to recite the Pledge of Allegiance without assistance from an adult. A little bit of prompting, maybe. And if they can do so, they get a small American flag, they get a free pass to get aboard the ship, and they get an ice cream. And it's a wonderful thing to witness, because if they don't know it, they certainly learn it. And we hope that it's the mission of the parent and the Naval Park and the entire community to make sure that they know what that flag stands for. Secondly, I guess I want to say that April 13th, which was just about 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago. My time is flying, I'm sorry.
1 month ago today.
It's actually 2 months, because of the fact that it's a date that is inscribed in my memory, because on the morning of April 14th is when we found ourselves in very difficult waters, pardon the pun. We did have a series of events leading up to a catastrophic event in which the USS The Sullivans started listing terribly. And it was on April 14th that an amazing team came together, which we referred to as the Unified Command. And the Unified Command was made up of the U.S. Coast Guard, New York State Department of Conservation, the City of Buffalo, which included fire, police, civil works, engineering department. Included obviously the Naval Park, T&T Salvage Company, Miller Environmental, and Bidco. And this team met every morning for 7.5 weeks at 7 a.m. in the morning and put a plan together. And at noon, they'd come together and say, how is that plan working? Because we need to make adjustments every single day. As we would go through the ship and try and make corrective measures, another leak might pop up or another compartment might be identified that was going to be problematic. I'm extremely proud to have been part of that Unified Command. But it also brings together another unified group, and that's the group that stands behind me. And I'm going to call it a unified support team. And it's led by Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes. She didn't forget. She was one of the first officers that reached out to us. Her Chief of Staff, Mark Boyd, worked with us closely, trying to figure out how we could get some money from Albany to Buffalo. We're standing in front of a national historic landmark. She's 80 years old. She was meant to last about 25 years. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out the math on this one. She needed some help. And it was this unified support team behind me. And I'm going to say I saw the mayor just about every day, so I probably saw him more than he saw his wife during that period of time. And a lot of other folks that just continually fought to come up with a plan of action to make sure that this ship was righted. Today, she's probably in the best shape of her life, standing tall, listing 0.1 degree. We still have work to do. We have a lot of decontamination on the interior, which we are working with. Our staff has done an amazing job going through the artifacts, making sure that the ship is safe for not only people from visitors from out of town to come and visit, but certainly from the locals that want to come. We were without revenue for 7 to 8 weeks while this whole process was occurring. The encampment program, which is extremely popular, which case 150, 175 kids get to sleep over on the Little Rock every weekend, was halted. Visitors could not come and watch or tour through the other ships. So with all of that financial strain, I really want to appreciate what has been done, not only here, but from other politicians who have said, what can we do to help? So on behalf of our board of directors, our entire staff, the volunteers and the docents who probably miss their job the most, I want to give a sincere thank you to them and to a community that stood tall in support of this ship, because we had messages from across the country and even a few different countries that said this ship is far too important to let her sink. And we did not. And as we all know, we had a mantra during that period of time. And I think everybody that was at that 7 o'clock meeting knew what that mantra was. And that mantra was that failure was not an option. So we remember that, and we stand tall today because we look behind us and we see a ship that's standing tall. Well, I want to thank everyone who was a part of that process, and especially to this team behind me, led by Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes, and say thank you to all of you sincerely. Thank you.
Okay, we're all standing by. Have any questions of any of these people behind me?
Paul, can you tell us what's going on now and what's next?
So let me give you a brief update. We have Bidco, Buffalo Industrial Diving Company, on site. They have mobilized their ships in the water. You could probably see them in between the Little Rock and the Sullivans. They've got 3 vessels in the water right now setting up diving platforms, in which case they're resuming the work that began last summer. As you know, that work started late summer. It was water dependent. The 2-part epoxy system needed 54 degrees in order to adhere to the steel. by early October that water temperature dropped below 54, so they had to pull out. They were expected to come back first week of June. Unfortunately, we had an incident leading up before their arrival, which changed matters, but they're back on site today, and they will be probably for the next 2, 3, 4 months, whatever it's going to take to finish the work that they need to do on the hull. In the meantime, we have Miller Environmental, who still has 2 frac tanks that are on Marine Drive. We have 1 compartment that needs to be completely decontaminated, and they're working today and the rest of this week to make sure that that's resolved. Beyond that, we have our own staff who's working on the interior, making sure that any of the artifacts that may have been harmed or destroyed are going through one at a time and making sure that we can either restore them or deaccession them as necessary. So between BIDCO, Miller Environmental, and our own staff, we are continuing the process. We are also working with the City of Buffalo, putting an RFP together to hire a naval architect and a marine surveyor to help guide us through this very important next step, which is, do we need to dry dock her? Do we have the resources to dry dock her? Is a cofferdam a possibility? Do we have the resources to build a cofferdam? So we're going to look at each one of those options, and each one of them will have a price tag that goes along with it. And I think, as everything that's been done to date, it will be thoughtfully analyzed and it will be announced to you in the proper time.
What's open?
So right now, you can see that we have a special access to get to the stern of the Sullivans that will take you right up to the Little Rock. However, we're using that for contractors. The method that the visitors are using right now is through the quarterdeck, which is about midship, to approach the Sullivans. You'll go straight, take a left-hand turn, and then go straight up the gangway to the Little Rock. So you cannot view the Sullivans at this point. We're hoping in the next couple of weeks that we can open up the deck, just the outer deck and maybe the superstructure, but the interior will remain closed until we are absolutely convinced that there'll be no harm done to the public. So you can certainly tour the entire Little Rock. You can go completely from stern to bow. Once you get to the bow of the Little Rock, you can exit and go onto the Croaker, which is the submarine. Obviously, the rest of the park has remained open, so you've got the Veterans Memorial Gardens. You've got this PT boat right here that people are working on. You've got the second floor museum, which we have a wonderful new exhibit of segregation in World War II, which our curator has done an amazing job along with our director of education. Well worth viewing. And of course the gift shop and the restaurant, which will remain open.
Is there any prospects for more money? I mean, obviously that's going to be a big thing.
Well, let's just say yes. And we'll figure out later from which level of government and when.
Thank you.
Well done, Majority Leader.
All right, next job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And the exhibit is amazing.
Really?
Bringing a
Oh,
whole
good.
group of veterans from my community that are
Excellent.
coming down, and then we're going to go out to dinner afterwards. So I'm
And you know
super
we're making a
excited.
video, a couple of tips.
Yeah,
As soon as I
yeah.
get that,
We had a huge presentation about
even
it.
get
So
the draft, I'll send you the
I'm so thankful for your leadership. Anything the legislature do, just let me know. Okay. All right.